Hi, welcome, and thanks for joining us again. Let's recap. We talked about that Jesus has risen from the dead and promised the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. Now we're on the road to Pentecost, and we have Jesus' ascension into heaven. So what's this about? What's the significance of the ascension? We read in John 1:14 that the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. It says, we have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. So after the resurrection, Jesus is no longer just flesh and bones. He appears to the disciples in bodily form. He invited Thomas to touch his side. It says he broke bread and ate with them. And when he was with the disciples on the shore, he cooked fish on a fire for them. And a particular phase of Jesus' ministry is now completed. And Jesus leaves the apostles, but he doesn't abandon them. Therefore, he doesn't abandon us. And he leaves them to await the coming of the Comforter. Having been resurrected, the disciples might have assumed that Jesus would have always been present with them, as he was, in the form that he was. But he made it clear that he would eventually have to leave them. And Jesus had pre-warned them of this in John 14:1-4. He said, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, I would have told you that I'm going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the place to where I am going." So the point of this is his going away is a preparation. Now I want to use an illustration from the Star Wars movie that may be helpful. In the first movie, the four main characters, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, are on a dangerous mission. Their mission is to retrieve vital important schematics of the Death Star. Now, their arch enemy and their opponent is Darth Vader, and he's trying to hinder them on their mission. And as they're trying to escape after recovering the Death Star plans, Obi-Wan is battling with Darth Vader, and the others are in their spaceship ready to take off. And as Obi-Wan sees that they're ready to go, he switches off his lightsaber, and Vader slices through Obi-Wan's robe. And as they crumble to the ground, we notice there's no body. Obi-Wan is gone. After this, Obi-Wan appears and speaks to Luke on several occasions, giving advice and encouragement. So what's happened is, giving up his own individual life, Obi-Wan can guide Luke, and wherever Luke is and whatever situation he finds himself, Obi-Wan is there. This is an illustration of what Jesus did. As the risen Jesus, he was limited to being with the disciples personally. But through his ascension, Jesus surrenders his localized presence, and through the Holy Spirit, he is with all believers anywhere, anytime. And being lifted up into a cloud, and in the Old Testament the cloud represented God's presence and the sign of the heavenly glory of God, Jesus becomes the exalted Lord, returning to the Father, being one with the Father. You see, the ascension is not a separate event. It's more symbolic. Jesus' birth was the incarnation. The Word became flesh, as in Philippians 2:8. Paul talks about how Jesus humbled himself, becoming obedient unto death. Then in verse 9 he says, "Therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name." When we say this is not a separate event, we're not saying that it didn't happen. Rather, it's in a sense the culmination of Jesus' earthly ministry. It's symbolic in the sense that it's not the ascension that makes Jesus exalted. Just like it's not the crown that makes King Charles king. It's a symbol of his authority. The disciples were given the privilege of witnessing the ascension as part of their witness of who Jesus is. And then in Acts 1:10 we're told that two men dressed in white, and we assume they're angels, are standing beside them. And this brings to mind the empty tomb in John 20. The two angels in white speak to Mary. The angels are there to help Mary, and then the disciples focus on what's important. They say, Mary, in a sense, they're saying, Mary, don't focus on the empty tomb, but look for the risen Jesus. Don't just stand here, and they say to the two disciples, don't just stand here looking up. Go and get on with the mission Jesus has sent you on. And Acts 1:11, they say, "Men of Galilee," they said, "why do you stand here looking up to the sky? This same Jesus who was taken from you into heaven will come back in the same way as you have seen him go into heaven." And in Matthew 28, verses 18 to 20, and Acts 1:8, we are given the last words directly given to the disciples before he ascends. So Matthew 28:18, "Then Jesus came to them and said, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit." Verse 20, "and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." And then Acts 1 verse 8, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth." So before we look at the fulfillment of the promised Holy Spirit at Pentecost, I want to explore what's needed for the filling or baptism of the Holy Spirit. Is there a condition for being filled? Is every Christian filled or baptized with the Holy Spirit? We'll explore this a little bit more next time. But this ascension that we're looking at of Jesus, as we've said, it's his glorification. It's the exaltation of Jesus. And in the book of Revelation, that John gets his revelation of Jesus, we see a picture of Jesus as the glorified, exalted, majestic Jesus. This is the Jesus we have now. He's no longer the meek and mild earthly Jesus. He's not the guy riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. This is the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. That's the significance of the ascension. So what I'd like you to do now is get with a couple of people and discuss these questions, and hopefully we'll have them on a PowerPoint. Firstly, have you seen the Star Wars movies? Well, you should. Was the illustration helpful? Secondly, if a person knows they're dying or going away, how important do you think their last words would be? And thirdly, Which of Jesus' last words to his disciples resonate with you most? And what encourages you most? Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great week and hang in there with Jesus. God bless you.